When archaeologists began excavating the ancient cities and ports of Tamilakam, the Tamil country of South India, they uncovered a linguistic mosaic. As expected, the vast majority of inscriptions were in Tamil, written in the elegant Tamil-Brahmi script, but these ports were cosmopolitan crossroads. Traders and pilgrims left their marks too. Scraps of Prakrit, the common tongue of northern merchants, a unique sherd and hybrid Sanskrit from Arikamedu, even Latin words stamped on Roman pottery. And then, among all these, a small but astonishing group of inscriptions stood out. They were not Tamil. They were not from northern India. They were written in Sinhala-Prakrit, the earliest form of the Sinhala language, inscribed in the Sinhala-Brahmi script. This was a breakthrough, and much of the credit goes to the great epigraphist Iravatham Mahadevan. Through his meticulous study of scripts, he was the first to identify these rare inscriptions for what they were, the earliest Sinhala voices ever discovered on Indian soil. Over 2,000 years ago, Sinhala wasn't confined to the island of Sri Lanka. It was being written and used in the ports, cities, and industrial hubs of Tamilakam. This is the story of the ancient Sinhala Inscriptions of Tamilakam, the Sinhala voices on clay that still speak across the sea. Before we begin our journey through Tamilakam, it's important to understand just how ancient this Sinhala-Brahmi script is. Recent discoveries in Sri Lanka have pushed its origins back to at least the 6th century BCE, making it one of the earliest known writing systems in South Asia, and creating a fascinating story of its own. I've covered the full story of that incredible discovery in a detailed video, which I'll link for you on screen and in the description. But for now, our story begins across the sea. Our first stop is Arikamedu, near modern Puducherry, once a cosmopolitan port buzzing with Romans, Indians, and Sri Lankans. One fragment, found on a simple piece of greyware, reads Kubiraha. Kubira is Kubera, the god of wealth. Dating to around the 1st century AD, though some experts argue it could be even older, this inscription was a Sri Lankan merchant's personal invocation of Kubera, seeking blessings for his trade. The final sound, ha, is the linguistic fingerprint. It's the ancient Sinhala way of saying of Kubira, a grammatical feature not found in Tamil-Brahmi. This pot carries the voice of a trader, speaking the ancestor of Sinhala. Another reads, Bhutasha, of Bhuta. Ordinary names, everyday possessions, yet written in early Sinhala-Prakrit, the ancestor of the Sinhala language, on Tamil soil. From the sea, we now move inland to Kanchipuram, one of the greatest cities of ancient South India. Long before it became a center of Hindu philosophy, Kanchipuram was also a thriving hub of Buddhism, drawing pilgrims, scholars, and monks from across Asia. Here, on a fragment of greyware, archaeologists discovered a name, Pushalakita. It's a Prakrit form of Pushyarakshita, a name often carried by Buddhist monks or devotees. What makes it extraordinary is not the name itself, but the way it was written, in Sinhala-Prakrit, using the Sinhala-Brahmi script. This was not Tamil, nor Sanskrit. This was the earliest Sinhala language, engraved on a pot in the sacred city of Tamilakam. Imagine a Sri Lankan monk or pilgrim, far from his island home, leaving his mark at this spiritual center. A single name, scratched into clay, carries with it a world of devotion, travel, and faith. This pot carries the voice of devotion. Further south along the coast lies Alagankulam, an ancient port city near the mouth of the Vaigai River. For centuries, this was a natural gateway between Sri Lanka and Tamilakam, a harbor where merchants, pilgrims, and ideas constantly crossed the Palk Strait. It's here, among the pottery unearthed from the site, that we find some of the clearest voices linking Lanka and Tamilakam. One sherd reads, Rakitasha. According to the great epigraphist Iravatham Mahadevan, who analyzed this fragment, Rakita means protected by. It's the second half of a common ancient name. The full name might have been Dhammarakita, protected by the Dhamma, or Sangarakita, protected by the Sangha. This was a revered name, one that could belong to a devout layperson, or just as easily to another monk. The final letter, sha, is the crucial clue. It's the Sinhala-Prakrit, possessive for of. Mahadevan explains that the specific shape of this letter, drawn with straight lines, is a hallmark of the Sinhala-Brahmi script, distinct from versions found in India. So whether a monk or a merchant, the owner's identity was tied to their faith. This pot carries the voice of deep devotion, another echo of the culture that traveled across the sea from Sri Lanka. Back at the port of Alagankulam, we find a unique piece of evidence for a monastic community. Now, a photograph of this specific inscription has never been published. The great epigraphist Iravatham Mahadevan, who first studied the sherd, noted in his work that it remains in an unpublished collection. So while we can't show you the actual artifact, the descriptions from scholars are crystal clear. The inscription reads Saga, an abbreviation for the Buddhist Sangha, the community of monks. But how can we be sure it's from Sri Lanka? According to the renowned archaeologist Osman Bopirachi, the proof is in the second letter. The original Pali Sanskrit word is Sangha with a breathy GHA sound. A classic feature of the ancient Sinhala language was softening these sounds. Bopirachi states that the use of ga instead of GHA is what attests to the inscription's Sri Lankan origin. This pot carries the voice of faith, a vessel belonging to the Sri Lankan monastic order, traveling the same sea lanes as the merchants. Alagankulam also gives us one of the most fascinating clues, a sherd that reads Cha-mu-taha of Samuda. It's the Sinhala-Prakrit version of the Sanskrit word samudra, which means the ocean, a perfect name for someone living or trading in this ancient port city. Now, this is where it gets really interesting for language detectives. In pure Sinhala-Prakrit, the name would be written something like Samudaha. But look closely at what was actually carved. The initial sa sound is written as cha. Da sound in the middle of the name becomes ta. According to the great epigraphist Iravatham Mahadevan, these are classic fingerprints of a native Tamil speaker's pronunciation and spelling rules being applied to a foreign language. This isn't a mistake. It's a perfect snapshot of cultural fusion. It's the voice of a local Tamil scribe, doing their best to write a name for a Sri Lankan client, and in the process blending two languages and two cultures into one single inscription. This pot carries the voice of cultural fusion. Our journey then takes us to the legendary port capital of the Cholas, a city at the mouth of the great Kaveri River, Kaveri Pumpatinam, also known as Poompuhar. Here, on a piece of humble red pottery, a remarkable inscription was found, Abi Magato. The words are Sinhala-Prakrit. Abi was a respectful title for a high-status woman, a princess. Maga is a name derived from the Sanskrit Maga. This alone points to high-level contact, diplomacy, royal missions, perhaps even marriage alliances between the two lands. But the real secret is hidden in the spelling. The great epigraphist Iravatham Mahadevan noticed that the doubled TT is not typical for pure Sinhala-Prakrit. It's a classic fingerprint of Tamil writing conventions. This means this single inscription likely carries two voices, the name of a Sinhala princess being written by the hand of a local Tamil scribe. It's a perfect snapshot of the daily collaboration that took place in these ancient ports. This pot carries not just the voice of power, but the voice of cooperation. And finally, our journey takes us further south, along the Vaigai River, to Keeladi. This is no ordinary settlement. Excavations here have revealed a vast, planned urban city that flourished more than 2,000 years ago, reshaping what we know about the early history of Tamilakam. I actually visited Keeladi myself, and I've covered that experience in a separate video. I'll link it on screen and in the description if you'd like to explore that story in detail. Among the thousands of artifacts, excavators found potsherds inscribed with Prakrit names that they believe could be of Sinhala origin. One reads Rajakatasa, another Gutasa. What makes the find of Gutasa so extraordinary is this. The very same name appears on an ancient lead coin from a Kurugoda in southern Lanka. two places, separated by the sea, yet sharing names, networks, and faith. These humble pots carry the voice of a shared economy, proof that Tamilakam and Lanka were never strangers, but partners in an ancient, interconnected world. Merchants, monks, princesses, scribes, and industrialists. Their names and identities were etched into humble pottery, not in Tamil, not in Sanskrit, but in Sinhala-Prakrit, the earliest form of the Sinhala language, written in the Sinhala-Brahmi script. The very earliest Sinhala-Prakrit inscriptions are found on the island of Lanka itself. But what makes these discoveries so remarkable is this. The same early Sinhala Voices also appear here, across the sea, in the heart of Tamilakam. These fragments show us that more than 2,000 years ago, the Palk Strait was not a barrier, but a bridge, carrying language, faith, commerce, and kinship between two ancient worlds. Sinhala Voices on clay, echoing across 2,000 years. Thanks for watching. This is Hela Nomad, sharing journeys through history and heritage. If you'd like to explore more, check out my Brahmi script playlist in the description.